Okay, have you ever noticed this? Someone might look, reasonably fit overall, maybe even hitting a healthy weight on the scale, but they have that really distinct, uh, kind of pronounced belly. Like it almost looks pressurized.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
We're not talking about just general weight gain here. It's that very specific potbelly look.
Yeah.
It seems kind of localized, right? But the science behind it, well, that's a whole global metabolic mystery.
Oh, absolutely. And that specific shape, it's like a visual warning sign. It's screaming about a really deep systemic metabolic issue. That look is often down to excessive visceral fat. That's the really dangerous stuff stored deep inside around your organs.
Visceral fat.
And the mechanism, the thing driving fat specifically into that compartment, is usually a condition we call insulin resistance.
Right, visceral fat. That's a huge distinction, isn't it?
Right.
So it's not just about gaining weight, it's about where the body's being forced to shove all that extra energy.
Exactly.
And the numbers on this, they're pretty staggering from what I understand.
They really are. This whole crisis, and it is a crisis, it's diet-driven, and it's hitting people younger and younger. We're seeing kids, actual children, with high triglycerides and diagnosed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, confirmed on scans.
In children.
Yeah, in some places. We're finding maybe 1 in 3 kids already showing the early signs of a fatty liver.
Or 3.
Yeah.
Times. Already starting down the path of serious metabolic problems. Honestly, that's shocking.
It is. But look, if it's hitting kids that quickly, that tells you it's mostly environmental, right? It's got to be lifestyle, mainly diet, not just genetics playing out slowly. We really need to unpack this, follow the science, because the usual advice, eat less, move more, it just doesn't cut it here. It's way more complex.
Okay, let's do that. Let's unpack it. So how does the food we eat end up creating this, localized storage disaster inside us? You mentioned insulin resistance. It boils down to a hormone then, one we all kind of know.
Yes. Good old insulin. Beautifully efficient, but brutally efficient too sometimes. Think of insulin as the energy storage manager. When you flood your system with easy energy, especially loads of carbs, insulin surges to handle it. And its job is kind of twofold, simple but really effective, maybe too effective sometimes. First, it's the key that pushes all that energy into fat cells, especially that visceral fat. And second, it slams a big padlock on those fat cells. Makes sure you cannot burn any of the fat you already have stored away.
Wow, so you've basically just locked up your own energy supply.
Pretty much.
Okay, so if insulin is high, you're constantly storing fat, and you're literally physiologically blocked from burning it.
Yeah.
But why is insulin always high for so many people then?
Well, because for a lot of people, particularly those maybe following more traditional vegetarian or plant-heavy diets, the daily menu is it's a nonstop carbohydrate festival. And often it's the most refined, easily digested kinds of carbs. Let's walk through a typical day for someone maybe caught in this pattern.
A menu almost perfectly designed, maybe without realizing it, for total metabolic chaos. Is that what we're looking at?
You've got it. Precisely. Breakfast, for example, is often a masterclass in, stealth carbs. People think they're eating light or healthy, maybe because they bought into the whole low-fat thing for decades, right?
Right, avoid the fat.
So they grab things like rice cakes, idly in some cultures, or those fermented flour crepes, dosa, or maybe fine semolina porridge, poha. Or if they go for more Western options, it's muesli, cornflakes, maybe fruit juice. These are all just massive hits of processed starch or sugar.
Okay, so that leads to what you might call the race car fueled by pure sugar effect.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. You get this immediate, almost thrilling energy spike, right? But the fuel just burns out way too fast. And then like clockwork, maybe 90 minutes later, boom, you just hit the wall. Mentally, physically, you crash.
The crash.
And that crash is what we see driving the constant craving. People genuinely feel desperate for another boost. They can't go more than, say, 3 or 4 hours.
And that forces people into that whole small, frequent meals thing, which sounds healthy, but it's actually just, it's a continuous insulin spike cycle, isn't it? Trapping them in fat storage mode all day.
It's a really vicious cycle. Then lunch comes, heavily reliant on flatbread like roti or rice. And even when people try to be healthy, maybe switch to millets. Often those greens get pulverized into super fine, high-starch powders. Kind of negates the benefit,
Defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and there's usually a big lack of protein, too. A typical lunch might just be flatbread with a bit of vegetable curry, or maybe a small bowl of really thin lentil soup. Not much substance.
Okay, and then comes that mid-afternoon danger zone, the 4 p.m. slump. Often involves tea, right?
Oh yeah, the chai culture or just the coffee break slump.
Mm.
When that crash hits, people crave something like dry, crunchy, easy to munch on. They often reach for snacks marketed as light or fat-free puffed rice, baked chips, crackers,
Pure carbs.
pure concentrated carbs, yeah. Hitting the system right when it's screaming for energy again, causing another insulin surge. And dinner often just continues the pattern: pizza, pasta, or maybe some starchy fritters made from lentils or potatoes.
So the real villain here isn't necessarily the obvious sugar or even fiber, which is good. It's the sheer amount of overlooked starch. Is that the key?
Starch is absolutely key. See, starch in its natural form, like in a whole grain or a bean, it's kind of handcuffed by fiber. Your body has to work to get at it. But when you refine it, polish the rice, grind the wheat into superfine flour for commercial breads or pastries, you've basically done the digestion for your body.
You've pre-chewed it, almost.
Exactly. You remove the fiber, which is the body's only real brake pedal for carb absorption. You've turned what should be a complex, slow-release carb into something that hits your bloodstream almost like instant sugar. So when like 60%, 70%, sometimes even 80% or more of your daily calories come from this stuff, this easily absorbed combo of refined carbs,
Mm-hmm.
your body just has no choice. It has to shove that excess energy somewhere, and that somewhere is often visceral fat.
Okay, but here's the bit that makes you scratch your head, right? You'd think the specialists, the ones dealing with insulin day in, day out, endocrinologists, they'd be the first ones screaming this from the rooftops.
Mhm.
High refined carbs to high insulin, that's specific belly fat. But you're saying there was this huge, almost ironic blind spot in how doctors were trained. How could they miss something so basic? Did the world's experts really just forget first-year biochemistry?
Haha. No, it wasn't really about forgetting. It was more about systemic focus, you know?
Yeah.
You absolutely learn in year one carbs trigger the biggest insulin response. That's like Biochem 101. Settled science. But then the system kind of diverts your attention. Medical training, especially back then, shifted almost entirely to pharmacology. Drugs.
Oh, okay.
You spend years just memorizing drug names, different types of insulin and pH, long-acting, short-acting, how to dose them, how to prescribe them.
So the focus becomes managing the crisis once it's already happened, not really preventing it with lifestyle stuff.
Exactly. By the time doctors got to internal medicine rotations, dealing with established type 2 diabetes or obesity, often the patients were, frankly, quite sick. Discussing diet in detail felt almost irrelevant in that acute setting. The priority was stabilizing them, managing complications, writing prescriptions. The nutrition link learned in year one just got kind of filed
Yeah.
away, siloed.
But the most incredible part of this, the real paradox, is that the secret formula, the knowledge, was already being used. Just for a tiny, specific group,
Mhm.
people with type 1 diabetes.
This is the part that's truly mind-blowing when you look back. For type 1 patients, doctors actively teach the insulin to carbohydrate ratio. It's standard practice. We literally show the patient, look, if you eat this many carbs, you need this much insulin. If you want to reduce your injection dose, you have to reduce the carbs.
So the direct link was proven, used daily.
Explicitly, the direct causal link between carb intake and required insulin dose was right there in practice every day. But that knowledge somehow just didn't jump the fence. It didn't transfer over to the advice given for type 2 diabetes or obesity in the general population.
Wow.
It actually took doctors stepping outside the standard training, maybe exploring nutrition more deeply on their own, to connect the dots and realize, hey, wait a minute, lower carbs means lower insulin for everyone.
That is the absolute definition of a deep dive, isn't it? When the answer is staring you in the face, but the way things are set up just prevents you from seeing its broader application.
It was a huge aha moment for many, yeah.
Yeah.
Connecting that type 1 protocol logic to the massive type 2 crisis happening globally.
Okay, speaking of systemic consequences, let's pivot to something really practical.
Mhm.
The day-to-day misery.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the number one complaint people have isn't even the high blood sugar itself, it's the digestive nightmare.
Yeah.
Gas, bloating, stomachs that literally, what was it, go in and out like 2 or 3 inches depending on the meal.
Oh, the infamous bloating balloon. It's incredibly common. People tell me all the time, I look 6 months pregnant after I eat lunch, just from the sheer distension.
That sounds awful.
It's deeply uncomfortable. And it often gets worse because of other lifestyle factors like maybe overusing antibiotics, even self-prescribed ones, which can be easy to get hold of sometimes. That just wipes out the good gut bacteria you need for proper digestion.
Ah, right. So you've got a damaged gut microbiome.
Exactly. And now you're hitting that compromised gut with this tsunami of highly processed grains ground into super fine powders. Think about what starch is chemically designed for. It's
Yeah.
meant to give a tiny seed just enough concentrated energy to sprout through the soil in the dark.
Huh. Never thought of it like that.
We're essentially mainlining that super concentrated plant energy, but in a form our gut just isn't equipped to handle gracefully, especially if it's already struggling. So you get that instant, often painful distension and gas. It's the body basically protesting.
Okay. And now we layer on the other huge missing piece, protein. You mentioned this earlier, the idea that humans, like animals, will basically keep eating until they hit their protein target.
Yes, that's a critical concept. It's called the protein leverage hypothesis. And it explains the perpetual hunger trap so many people are in. When your meals consistently provide very little protein, maybe less than 50 grams a day, often way less, maybe under 25 grams for some people, your body is biologically signaling malnourished. It keeps sending hunger signals.
Even if you just ate a huge plate of food.
Exactly. You're full of calories, but not nourished, so you crave more food, often defaulting back to those easy energy carbs and starches because the body knows it needs something. It just keeps you stuck in that high insulin, low satiety loop.
Right. And here's where we kind of need to flip the script on a common cultural idea, right? The belief that protein is heavy or, oh, it just sits there, weighs me down.
Hmm.
But the reality is that feeling of fullness, that's satiety. That's what actual proper sustained nourishment is supposed to feel like.
Absolutely. That feeling isn't a bug, it's the feature, it's the goal. It means your body got what it needed. So our strategy, clinically, often isn't to start by telling people you must cut your carbs, because honestly, many don't even realize how high their carb intake is, especially the starch.
They don't think they eat carbs because they aren't eating spoonfuls of sugar.
Right. So instead, we often start by saying, double your protein first. Whatever protein you're currently eating, double it.
Ah, clever. Because if you satisfy that biological protein hunger first, the desperate urge to constantly reach for the quick-hit carbs just naturally goes down.
That's the idea. It makes reducing the refined carbs much easier, less like a battle of willpower. But, okay, the big question. How do you do that in cultures or communities where meat or even eggs might be avoided?
Yeah, the vegetarian challenge.
We have to maximize what is acceptable and available. Dairy is huge here. Things like yogurt, milk, and especially homemade Indian paneer, fresh cheese. That's an excellent high-quality protein source. Fermented dairy, like yogurt maybe with some cumin, is also great for the gut. Then legumes, lentils, beans, you have to double the serving size. Stop thinking of dal or beans as just a tiny side dish. Make them a major part of the plate.
Okay, and for those who are okay with them,
Yeah.
eggs need a major PR campaign, right? We need to bust that cholesterol myth once and for all.
Oh, completely. Eggs are practically nature's perfect multivitamin with high-quality protein. That old fear about dietary cholesterol significantly raising your blood cholesterol, it's based on, outdated science from the 70s involving rabbits fed cholesterol. It just doesn't apply well to humans eating whole foods. It refuses to die, that myth.
Right.
Healthy people can eat plenty of eggs. Some eat 8-10 a day with zero negative metabolic impact. It's almost never the egg that's the problem. It's the refined toast or sugary ketchup people might eat with the egg.
Good point. Okay, so dairy, double legumes, eggs if possible. But sometimes hitting those targets, what is it, like 1.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight? That can still be tough, especially without meat.
It can be really tough with volume alone, especially for pure vegetarians. And that's where protein supplements like whey protein shouldn't be seen as some weird bodybuilder thing, but as a practical tool.
Like a necessary helper.
Yeah, maybe think of it as the one necessary processed item, perhaps. If you actually compare a scoop of simple whey protein isolate to many of the ultra-processed, packaged, refined carbohydrate snacks people are eating every day, the whey is arguably less processed and far more nourishing. It helps bridge that gap.
Okay, that makes sense. So the final action plan becomes kind of elegant, doesn't it? It's less about deprivation and more about addition and substitution.
Exactly. Instead of grimly trying to force yourself to eat less overall, you consciously eat more of the right stuff first. So instead of, say, 2 flatbreads and maybe 1 small cup of lentils, we flip it. We say, okay, aim for 2 cups of lentils, load up on the non-starchy vegetables, and then maybe cut the flatbread or rice down to just half of what you used to have, or even less.
So your stomach is still physically full, but it's full of nourishment, not just fast-burning filler.
Right. The stomach feels full, the protein needs starts getting met, and suddenly that carb taper becomes almost self-directed. You're just not as desperately hungry for them every few hours. And using tools like wearable glucose monitors, that can be amazing. People see in real time, wow, when I ate that, my blood sugar shot up. When I ate this with more protein, it stayed stable. It turns it from a guessing game or a punishment into their own personal science experiment.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've really seen how this metabolic crisis, this widespread insulin resistance, and even that specific body shape we started with, it's not necessarily genetic destiny. It seems largely dictated by this imbalance, right? Too many easily digested, refined starches, and just a desperate lack of adequate protein, which drives that endless hunger and stops the body from ever tapping into its own fat stores for energy.
That's the core of it. And understanding that, understanding how insulin really works and why your body might be sending those constant hunger signals, that knowledge is incredibly empowering. It allows you to start regaining control.
So here's a final thought for everyone listening. If your body is constantly telling you you're hungry, even maybe right after you've eaten a large meal, a meal that should have filled you up, could it be that it's not really a lack of food volume, but a profound lack of actual nourishment? What percentage of your daily calories are just like mechanical fillers, stuff designed to hit you fast and leave you feeling empty and craving again just an hour or two later? Something to chew on, perhaps, as you think about your next meal?